Hey, Sai. Oh, I can't hear you. Doesn't look like you're muted though. Can you hear me okay? Oh, okay. Hi, Trino.
Hi, Amanda. How are you?
Doing good. How are you this morning?
Good, good, good.
Awesome. I know Sai was just on. He's going to restart his computer. I don't think his audio was working, or his microphone. So I know he'll be joining us in a minute. So I'll give it a couple more minutes to see if anyone joins, and then we'll get started.
Perfect.
All right. You there, Sai?
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yep, I can hear you. Am I saying your name right, by the way? I've been saying that. Sai? Is that how you say it?
Yeah, it's no middle name. So like Cy, or the Cy Young Award in baseball.
Oh, okay, okay. Just making sure that I'm not butchering your name or anything like that. So, all right, and it looks like we have Trino. He's here as well, and it's a couple minutes past, so we can go ahead and get started if anyone else jumps in. They can pick it up from there. Let's see. So I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen with you guys. And today we're actually going to be talking about hiring a VA manager. So do you guys have a virtual assistant at all currently?
Yeah, I have a few.
Perfect. So this is actually going to be really good for you. Do you have anyone kind of running that, or is that you right now?
I'm running it, but I've had one person in mind that I thought would be good.
Yeah, I think we talked about that last time, right? That you had the different areas and but nobody was really kind of over all the virtual assistants.
No one's hitting. I got two kind of people that handle a lot of stuff, but I think one of them would be really great at kind of overlooking them. But I haven't talked to her yet because sometimes she's if I put too much on the plate, she's like, "Oh my God, I
Yeah.
can't believe you doing it to me." And then
Oh,
she
yeah.
gets done quicker than everybody else.
Right.
Most
Right.
of the time.
Yeah, that makes sense. So that's exactly what we're talking about today. You're ahead of the game because you already have some virtual assistants. Some people might not have, any virtual assistants, or they might only have one or two. So this is more along the lines of once you start building that virtual assistant, database where you have like, 3, 4, 5 people all working for you in different areas, and they're coming to you for all of the questions, for all of the tasks, for all of the training. Eventually it gets overwhelming and you're spending all of your time just focusing on, you know, getting them, to complete their tasks, and you're not going to be able to do anything that you need to do in order to grow your business. So what this is going to help everybody who does have multiple virtual assistants, have one person that kind of oversees everything. And we have a girl, her name is Hazel. I don't know if I've mentioned her before. She might actually hop on here in a little bit. I gave her the link and everything, but she's actually working on training another virtual assistant right now. So if she finishes that, she'll hop on, and she might be a good person to ask some of these questions to more in depth, since she's actually the one doing this stuff. But pretty much, that's the whole point of this entire thing, is to have someone take over those tasks so that you don't have to, and you can focus on the bigger picture stuff. So you said you have somebody that you're looking to do that with, but you just feel like she might get overwhelmed if you kind of throw everything on her.
Yeah, so I have my VA that I have for years now, and she's got two other VAs that she runs when it manage or so, but she handles a lot of just gathering data, uploading the list, getting the marketing together, and some of the system technology together. Then I have
Okay.
another VA I hired recently. I don't say recently, within the last year. Um, she handles a lot of um active marketing, like answering text messages. So the first VA sets up the marketing, the other one actually stays up, handle the marketing, assign a task to my other VAs to call the leads and talk to them. And whenever there's questions or so, the team naturally gravitate towards asking her first
Oh,
before coming to me.
yeah.
Uh,
So that's perfect. That's exactly what you want. So it looks like she's already kind of stepping into that role.
Yeah, so she's naturally a great all around person. But I also have my other VA who's been with me a lot longer or so. So I always kind of wondered if I, took the more recent one within the last year or so that's really coming on well, and say, hey, I want you to be over everything. I'm a little concerned alienating my long term VA,
Mhm.
who is great too, but just not as well rounded as Ann.
Right. Well, I mean, they're obviously different positions. What your VA that's been with you the longest is doing, she's doing a great job at it, but maybe she's not the best fit for, a manager type position, because there are certain qualities that you look for when you have somebody who, oversees um, personnel pretty much. Not everybody likes that role either. So she could totally be fine with it and be like, no, I like what I'm doing. I don't even want to manage VAs, type of thing. So, um, actually, in our case, I have Daisy. I don't know if you've heard Matt mention Daisy. She's my virtual assistant that I've had probably 5 or 6 years now. And she's actually not our VA manager. We have Hazel, who started this year, and she's our VA manager. So she's like much newer than Daisy is. But there has never been any issue with that. Daisy totally understands, and we obviously take care of her. She's been with us a while, so it's not like, Hazel's not making more than her, even though she is the VA manager. So just certain things where you're still showing your appreciation, you're still taking care of your VAs and those sorts of things, as long as she's doing a really good job for you. But maybe she's not the best fit for manager, and it is a business. So you have to decide and think, long term, if you put her in that position just because she's been with you longer, it might be a detriment to your business. It might not work out the way that you think, and then it might not only hurt your business, but it might, she might feel overwhelmed if she's not doing a good job. She might go from being a rock star virtual assistant because she's good at what she does, to feeling like she's not doing such a good job because she's not fit to be in that manager position. Does that make sense?
No, that makes sense.
You want to
Um,
set them up for success.
so when you transition to Hazel, like Daisy didn't show anything for like the first few days, the weeks. She was perfectly okay with the transition.
Yeah, and Hazel is more over. So we hired Hazel because we actually have, I don't know if you've seen, do you follow Matt on Instagram or anything like that?
I follow him on Instagram.
Okay, so he posts a lot of stuff as far as like what we're doing and the education and things like that. And we hired Hazel because what we started doing is we hire all these virtual assistants, and we have a lot of virtual assistants in house that work for us doing different things. So we needed somebody for our own business to do that. But what we also do is we train virtual assistants, and we have Hazel do all of this. So she'll actually find the virtual assistants. She'll, take them through a training process, and then we have clients that want a trained virtual assistant in real estate, so they already know how to use all the systems that we use and teach and those sorts of things. Obviously, that's not something that I could take on because I'm already, really busy with everything that I already do. So that was perfect for Hazel. So where Daisy comes in is Daisy works for me, doing like acquisitions, data entry. Um, she does a lot on the property management side. So she's not in the whole training education type business. So
Mhm.
even though Hazel is the VA manager, she doesn't necessarily need to manage Daisy, if that makes sense.
That makes sense.
Daisy, sends me her invoice directly. And so it is kind of a one-off thing, whereas all the other virtual assistants do fall under Hazel. So that is also another option where if you feel like it might cause issues, you could, if that one virtual assistant is pretty independent and doesn't really need management, maybe you just have her still report directly to you and those sorts of things if it's not too big of an issue. And have everybody else go, report under the VA manager. So it's another option if you wanted to consider something like that.
Okay. Um, I don't want to take too much time about it. I do have a few more questions, but I know you have a presentation, so I
Ask
can.
away. It looks like it's just me, you, and Trino. So ask all the questions you want.
So the VA I got, she's so she handles a lot of updating the records, marketing, text messaging to the seller leads, um, and she reminds my VAs who's on the phone like, hey, make sure to call this owner, make sure to make these offers and reach out. So she's already pretty hands on. So, but she's not as familiar like with the sales scripts, the cold calling.
Right.
Although we did the personality test and she would be the best for it. But she told me if you have me do that, I'm not I'm not gonna be here. And like
Really?
I do not want to talk to people. I do not want to talk to sellers. She's like I did that for years
Yeah.
before.
Yeah.
Um, so like I guess the question like how would I transition that? Because if I give her like the role, say hey here's the cold callers, here's the acquisitions team. I want you to manage them. But per se, but she's not actively doing that role. So like
Right.
how does all that work out?
Oh, so that's actually how Hazel started for us. So we needed someone obviously for the whole virtual assistant training, those sorts of things. But that kind of came probably a month after she was hired. What she was originally hired for was cold calling. So
Mhm.
that's exactly what we did is took her in-house. We had her set up, Mojo, dialer, all of those things. And she actually started cold calling internally for us. And while we were simultaneously looking for a virtual assistant manager, she just so happened to show all the qualities that we were looking for. And so we kind of transitioned her into that role. But while she was doing the cold calling, I was pretty much her manager, if that makes sense. So I oversaw everything. I paid her, I answered questions. Now, I am the same way as the person that said they don't want to be on the phone. I hate phone calls. I don't want to make calls. I don't want to talk to people. Like, it's not fun. I just don't want to do it. Now, if I have to do it, I will. Like, I'm not going to just not do that stuff. If it's needed to be done, I'll do it. But if I got to choose, it's not something that I would want to do. Like, if I was looking for a job, that's definitely not where I would be looking. So, that's all to say you can definitely manage somebody with a task or a job even if you're not doing it yourself. I have made calls. I When it was just me and Matt, I mean it was just us two, so of course I was doing all of those things. I was calling banks, finding title companies to work with. I was on the phone with sellers negotiating for sales. I was doing everything because we had to. Now that we have multiple people, it's a little bit different, so I can sit back and kind of see the overall picture and manage those things without actually jumping in and making calls. So it's totally possible to do that. She just has to know what the job entails. So, like, if she's managing a virtual assistant, she's never done the task, she's not
Mhm.
really going to know what to look for to be successful. So that's all I would say is if she doesn't want to be on the phone, she's never done it before, she at least needs to take the training, know what to look for, and maybe go through a couple of mock, test trials or something with you or with somebody else, just so that she knows what she's looking for to be able to manage that person. But that's all I would say is you can definitely manage someone without doing the job yourself. You just want to know the job they're doing so you can know if they're being effective or not.
Okay. I think she'd be okay with that. I mean, I use some of the extra training stuff. She's like, yeah, I'll join. We look at
Yeah.
another dog. She's like, yeah, I'll join. I'll listen in. Yeah, I want to hear what's going on. and, and if I give her a task like to call the city to confirm something, like she'll make those type of calls, like to the cities or like property runners and stuff like that. She'll talk to them. She doesn't want to talk to sellers though.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I get that totally. So, and some people, that's what they love to do. And so that's another thing when you're posting ads or you're looking for a virtual assistant. That's why it's really important before, people get started to write down everything you're wanting them to do. Because if it is a bunch of calls, cold calling, those kind of things, that's a big thing that either some people are going to love or they're going to hate. And so putting that in the ad right away is going to narrow down the search, and you're not going to have to weed through a bunch of people that don't want to do those things. Because like I said, there's some people that just love to be on the phone. So I'm not one of them, but they're out there. So, um, but yeah, definitely. So it looks like, you have somebody that you're looking at, but there's a couple more people that jumped on. So I'm just going to kind of go through this real quick. If you have any other questions, just jump in and ask. And, other people probably have the same questions. So what to look for. So what we look for in a virtual assistant manager is pretty similar to what you look for in a virtual assistant. There's just a few extra qualities that you need to, do the management type thing. So like you always want anyone, whether it's someone in person, someone who's a virtual assistant, a contractor, whoever, you want someone to be honest, have that good work ethic, a good attitude, just the basic things that you look for in a good employee. You always want those things. But when it comes to a virtual assistant manager, you want someone who's decisive, that has the confidence, thinks quick on their feet, good communication skills, organized and responsible. So those are the big differences. When you have a virtual assistant, they don't necessarily need all of these things. These are very good qualities for anybody to have, but especially when it comes to a management type role, you don't want somebody who's constantly coming back and forth to you like, hey, should we do this? Hey, can we do this? What about this? Because you hired them to be able to take that stuff off your plate. So if they're just acting like the middleman, then it kind of defeats the purpose of having somebody who's in that management role. Now, in the beginning, you will get those questions. It's pretty inevitable not to get those questions. It's almost a good thing. You want somebody who's going to ask those questions initially so that they know how you think, what you're looking for, how to actually take care of some of the questions that do come up. But once they come up and they, check those off and now they have the answers, the more that they actually have to do this themselves, they're going to get more confident. They're going to know how you would answer the questions or how you would solve the problems. And then they're going to be able to take that and do it themselves. So in the beginning, I'd say definitely answer any questions, let them come to you, but they shouldn't be doing that, a month down the road, 2 months down the road. They need to actually take on some of this themselves. And one of the things that Matt does, even to me, because I'm very hesitant with some things sometimes, I might be like, hey, Matt, what do you think of this? Especially years ago, before I built the confidence that I have now with some of this stuff. And, he would answer my questions and stuff. But, a little while later, he'd be like, well, what would you do? And that's a good question to ask. So like if a virtual assistant or even somebody in the office comes to you and they, have a problem or a question, turn it around and say, okay, well, what would you do? Let them answer, and then you can help them through it. So let them tell you what they would do. And then from there, if it's, if you would do something different, you can go ahead and share your thoughts then and let them know. But that's always good. Have them think about it and solve the problem, and then you can help them from there. But don't just always jump in and solve the problem. Otherwise, you're going to be doing that forever. Does that make sense?
Makes sense.
Okay. And then, so the best ways to find a virtual assistant manager is going to be pretty much the same way you would find a virtual assistant. You would just be looking for those few additional skills. So Upwork is a site that we use. And I know we've done videos on it in the past, but we do have this, handout if anyone hasn't seen it yet or needs some help getting Upwork set up, Upwork is a site where you can go and you can type in exactly what you're looking for, find a virtual assistant, or you can post an ad and virtual assistants will come to you based on that ad. So that's what that is. Social media platforms. So obviously social media is growing. Everybody is on social media. I mean, everyone's always on their phone, they're scrolling through Facebook or Instagram or whatever. So that's a great way now to reach an audience that maybe you wouldn't have reached before. In fact, with all the stuff Matt posts on Instagram, Hazel actually found him. So she told me she was looking for a company or a real estate investor that might need help, with virtual assistant tasks. And with all the stuff he actually posts on finding virtual assistants, all the stuff, you've seen it if you follow him. She saw that and she reached out to him. So it's usually the other way around, right? We're always looking for virtual assistants and those sorts of things. But she found him based on his social media. So if you're really looking for someone and you have a good following and those sorts of things, go ahead and post that on your page. You never know who's looking at it and who might reach out to you. But she's honestly one of the best virtual assistants that we've had. And we've had a lot of virtual assistants. And like I said, we didn't even have to do anything besides what we were already doing. So definitely use that to your advantage. And then from there, word of mouth or referrals. So once you have a virtual assistant like Hazel, they probably know people that would also be good virtual assistants. So a lot of the people that we hire now are referrals from Hazel. So it's people that she knows. It's, friends of friends of friends, or,
Good
other.
afternoon, this is Megan. How may I help you?
Hey, Megan. I just heard her. I think she was answering the phone there. But yeah, so, word of mouth, always, if you have, like, say you have a few virtual assistants, you can always ask them, hey, do you know someone who's looking for a virtual assistant role? These are the things that we're looking for. Do you know someone that might be a good fit? We do that all the time. And we have so many good virtual assistants now just by doing that. So I would definitely say, post on social media, use the word of mouth referrals.
This is Michael with Kin Maddox Heating and Cooling.
Hey, Michael, it's Megan Bradbury.
Hey.
How are you? How are you?
I can mute her. There we go. All right, so we're good now. So definitely use those things to find your virtual assistant manager. And then as far as the virtual assistant requirements, so when you go to post, or even if someone reaches out to you, whatever it is, you need to have the decision made on exactly what you're looking for before you hire a virtual assistant. A lot of people, you're so busy, especially in the real estate investing realm, and it's usually just you starting out. And so you have all these things you're doing and you're like, oh, it'd be great to hire a virtual assistant. They can, help me out, take all these things off my plate, but they never know where to get started. So they might hire a virtual assistant, and then that virtual assistant's like, yeah, I'm ready to go. Just tell me what to do. And they're like, well, I don't know what you should do. Like, just help me, And I think that's where the problem is because a lot of people don't really have direction when they get started. So the best thing they can do is write down exactly what you want them to take off your plate. And it's going to be different for everybody. We do have some handouts with, tasks that are great to hand to a virtual assistant, but it's going to be different for everyone. So what we always tell people to do is write down at least 5 things. So if you hate calling, definitely write that down. If you hate filling out paperwork, write that down. If you, want them to fill out seller lead sheets and do negotiation for sales, everything you want them to do, just write it down. But you're going to also need to decide on an hourly rate. So what you plan to pay this person and how often, the hours that you need. So do you want someone full-time or do you want someone part-time? And then the preferred schedule. A lot of the virtual assistants that we find are going to be overseas. So, the time is going to be different than what it is here. But many of them are more than willing to work our, 9 to 5 schedule here, Central Time, Arizona time, whatever it is. You just have to know exactly when you want them online. And then any special requirements. So English speaking abilities, usually a must. And that's why we get a lot of our virtual assistants from the Philippines. And we have really, really good virtual assistants with really good English speaking abilities. So definitely something that we like to look for, because we do have our virtual assistants on the phone talking to sellers or talking to buyers. If you want someone to do like accounting for you, I know we have a virtual assistant that works in our accounting department. That's something that you want someone with experience to be brought on. You don't want someone who's never done accounting or saw QuickBooks or anything like that. You don't want to hire someone like that unless you have the time and you plan to train them. But that's usually a special skill that you want to look for. So those kind of things, you want to just narrow those down before you even get started. That way, when you're posting your ad and you're getting the applicants, you're weeding out all of the people who would not fit your position. And then finding a virtual assistant. So we don't need to really go into too much detail on this just because we do have the other video on finding and hiring a virtual assistant. But pretty much after everything has been posted and you start getting some applicants, this is something that now Hazel does. So prepare a detailed ad. We went over that. Review applicants. So there's a couple of ways you can review the applicants. What we like to do is have them send the voice recording so we can hear their English speaking ability. I don't know if you guys have heard of the DISC test yet. I think Sai, you mentioned it. She did the test and she was a good fit for that manager role or the calling role, but she didn't want to do it. So that's a great test to have people take, but it doesn't always place them in the right job just because people do have preferences. So like, she might be a good fit personality wise, but it might not be something that she's interested in. It's still a good thing to know where they fall on that spectrum, but take it with a grain of salt and go by the whole package. So don't just use that, but the overall application. And then once the virtual assistant is shortlisted, meaning we have all of this information, maybe we're only hiring, one virtual assistant, but we have 5 really good virtual assistants to choose from. Now we want to go and, make the decision. So we want to go through everything such as the recording. And it says here for the decision makers. So right now, Hazel is pretty much our decision maker. Before that, she would take all of the information and forward it to the correct department. So like whether that was Matt or Lewis at the time or me, it just depended on where we were doing the hiring for. But now Hazel does all of this for us. Okay, and then if chosen, the training starts immediately. And Hazel does all of the training now as well. And we have all the training videos that she uses that we actually create. We use those internally for all of our new virtual assistants as well. And then once a virtual assistant is hired or a virtual assistant manager, it's going to be the same steps. So you got to do the orientation and discuss the guidelines. And she does all of this. So like some of the guidelines might be in, I think she, says those down here as well, but pretty much when your start time, when your end time is, they fill out an invoice. We use TransferWise for our payments and we have to get that set up usually a week in advance. And so we like to get all of this information right away, like name, account number, address, those sorts of things. That way we can get them set up and they can get paid on time. And then Hazel she listed a few things here on what we trained the virtual assistants. These are the virtual assistants that get trained with these items are the ones that we actually use for, I think it's for our clients when we, train the virtual assistants that we then kind of hand off to our clients that want to use our trained virtual assistants. So this is everything that she goes ahead and trains them on. And then any additional training, she said that if somebody uses a different system, sometimes if it's a different calling system and it's not Mojo, if we've never used it, we might not have a detailed how to on it, but it doesn't mean we can't help guide that training. We can always look into, what's being used, get any login information, help out from there. So it's not limited to this. We just might not have as much detail if we've never actually used it ourselves, but we'll totally jump in and help where we can. So platforms are ever changing. So a lot of the stuff, like I just redid a video for Sherpa, they changed their entire layout of everything. So I probably recorded that video a month and a half ago. And then I just had to record a new one probably about 2 weeks ago because that's how fast it changes. So we try to keep everything up to date. And then if there's any additional training needed for the virtual assistants, we just provide that as well. And then what she does, so you could have your virtual assistant manager do this too. And basically, this is something we do obviously for our clients and stuff, but you can take it and use it in-house. So you have, let's say you've appointed a virtual assistant manager. So maybe you don't have these exact things, but you make a list that you want your virtual assistant manager to train your new virtual assistants on, just like we did here. And then they don't have any questions for you. As soon as they bring someone on board, they have the list of everything to go through with them and train them on already. and they can go ahead and get started right away. So you would just list out everything you want them to be trained on, if that makes sense. And then you can endorse. So like what she says when she endorses a virtual assistant is they've gone through all of the training, they have a good understanding of everything. They've done the process themselves and Hazel has watched. So they can go ahead and start on their own. That's all it means. They don't really get a gold star or anything like that. It's just basically they've passed all of our requirements to become a virtual assistant on our team. And from there, we'll organize an actual start date. So they go through the training first. They finish the training, now they can start and they'll be an independent worker, given tasks, all the login materials, we'll set up an email. We don't like to do that until they've gone through the training process. We just want to make sure they're actually going to, stick around and finish the training before we get them started. And then this is kind of what this whole video is about, hiring a virtual assistant manager for efficiency. So managing the virtual assistants. This is going to be what your manager is going to do. So like you said, you have somebody that you're thinking about. At every start of the shift, Hazel would then tell like all of the virtual assistants, and this is part of the onboarding. So, she'll let them know when they get started, they need to send a start of day report. Pretty much what that is just, they'll send an email, hey, I'm here for the day. I'm ready to get started. This is what I'm working on. If you have anything else, let me know. Just so that we know, first of all, they're here because everything's online. It's not like we can just walk into the office and see that they're here. Sometimes also, if they get to work right away, you might think, oh, I haven't heard from this person today. Like, are they in? You don't want to have those questions. You want to just make sure that they're in on time. So that's what we do, is have them send in an email, let us know they're here. And then an end of the day report. So same exact thing when they log out. So when they're here and when they leave. And that's everything that they were able to accomplish during the day, they would send with that end of day report. And we actually have all of our virtual assistants do that. So the regular virtual assistants will send that to Hazel, and Hazel monitors that. But Hazel and Daisy actually send us the same thing to me and Matt. So we always have an idea of what's going on throughout the entire business, so that we don't have any questions. And then Hazel said she actually asks them to sign a form detailing the time of their shift. So pretty much just like if you were to bring in a person and do like the HR type onboarding, usually there's forms to fill out. This isn't really a legal form. It's just something that kind of commits them to the hours they're supposed to work and the shifts they're supposed to do. But let's say, they sign this form and they don't show up, they don't do their work. I mean, you would just fire them. There's not really anything else to be done. It's more just a responsibility type thing. So you physically sign a form and you feel obligated now. So that's kind of what she does. And then required to log in and out. So she actually has a special group. And you can do this in any type of thing. You can do this as a Facebook group if you have Google, like a Google Hangouts type thing. Anything that can get everybody together, maybe in one type of group or chat. That way you always know who's in attendance, and if anyone has questions, you can ask the whole group. So a lot of the virtual assistants might have a question, maybe one knows the answer and another one doesn't. It's just really good for them all to get together, kind of like if you had a bunch of people in the office and they all get together for a meeting or for lunch or just something like that, so that they kind of feel like they have some help when they need it. And then, of course, there's always cases of emergencies. So even here, there's power outages, internet outages, unforeseen events, they can't come in, those kind of things. We do require that they let us know somehow. So like, it's really great to have a virtual assistant manager in the same area. A lot of actually all of them now, I believe, are in the Philippines. So what that means is Hazel, she oversees all of these people, but she also has their phone numbers. So they're able to, even if they can't log on, they're having computer issues or internet issues, they can always send her a text message. And then Hazel is able to then relay that to us. So the only downside is if Hazel were to have the issues, eventually we would know about it, but it's just the sooner the better. Just like anybody else, if any of us were to have issues getting to work or doing our work, we would definitely want to let people know. So we just require that. And then of course we always provide the support. If there's any overtime, changes schedules, Hazel handles all of that. So you have to give your virtual assistant manager some authority. So you can't put them in this role of management and then not give them any authority to actually do that job. That's actually one of the most frustrating things, is when you're in a management position, but you have no power to do anything management related. So I hope that makes sense. Maybe you can give kind of like some boundaries. So like, the virtual assistants can work up to this many hours, type of thing, and then let them go from there. So like, not saying they have to work that many hours, but she has that authority to approve if they need to go over the hours that they already have, type of thing. And then random check-ins. So like, for example, we talk to all of our virtual assistants through Google Hangouts. And during the day, I might just text or message Hazel, hey, like, how's it going today? And she responds right away. I have some other virtual assistants. It might be, 30 minutes, an hour before I get something back, but they might not be staring at their Google Hangout. They might be in a different website, or Craigslist posting ads, those sorts of things. So it's just something to kind of keep everybody accountable, and just to see how it's going if they need any help. And then as far as the invoices, Hazel actually gets, we have, I want to say, I don't even know now, maybe like 15 virtual assistants. It's a lot. So what we have her do is she actually gathers all of their invoices, and she makes sure that the hours and the pay rate matches what they were hired for, and that the total amount is accurate. Once she has all of the invoices, she sends those over to me, and I go into TransferWise and I actually do the payments. Now, this is something I could have her do. So if you don't want to deal with it, you can have her do it. I've just been doing it for so long with like Daisy and Hazel, and so it's no big deal for me to just go in there and pay a couple more virtual assistants. So that's just the reason I kept that. But she does all of the invoicing. So like, if I didn't get an invoice on Monday, which is when she sends the invoice, that virtual assistant wouldn't get paid. So it's really important that she does this. And otherwise, we have this, offer trained VAs through our website. So I don't know how many people know that, but I just put that down there in case anybody wanted to check it out. But other than that, that's really all we do for virtual assistant manager. So if you want to shoot off any questions.
So I know, so Hazel's managing the VAs, and you're above Hazel. Do you do any like one-on-ones, or do you interact with the VAs at all, any capacity? Like,
Yeah. So some of them I've only interacted a few times, and that's because they're more on the property management side, and I've been on the investing side and the education side. But they still know like that they can come to me. I've had a virtual assistant in the property management area come to me if like they couldn't get a reply on something, and I just kind of help push it through, even if I'm not the one who handles those issues. Other than that, though, I am always available. So I don't ever say like, don't contact me, contact Hazel, although she is the first line to go through. But sometimes, there's just some things Hazel can't answer. And yeah, they can definitely always come to me, but we have the Google Hangouts. So I just have all the virtual assistants added there. And if they ever have a quick question or anything like that, they'll just send me a quick message and I'll message right back. So yeah, definitely, open door type policy, even though we don't have doors online. It is, I let them come to me anytime they need to, but I use the whole, if it's a question they can answer on their own, I'll do what Matt does and just say, okay, well, what would you do? And you hear their answer. And then usually 9 times out of 10, it's exactly what I would have told them to do anyway. So
you don't do any like, I don't know, 20, 30-minute meetings like each week with each VA?
Hazel does that. Maybe not with each VA, but they have the group. And so she'll constantly be in that group and answer any questions. She'll do all the training. So there are, especially in the beginning when she hires a virtual assistant and she puts them through all of this training, and it is fast and it's a lot of information. There's going to be a lot of questions. So that's where she's the one that will take all of those questions. And if there's any extra training needed or explanations or anything like that, that would be her.
Okay. So pretty much you interact with Hazel. You have an open door policy, yeah. But any meetings that you do set with the VAs is primarily with Hazel.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, and if I ever need anything, then I would meet with Hazel. I would get with her, and then even if it's I'm trying to think of something recently that may have come up. She's good though. She handles everything. She rarely comes to me. So that's one of those things when you find a good virtual assistant manager, they take a lot off your plate and they don't come to you a lot. They just handle it. So I can't really think of anything recently that she's had to come to me for, but yeah, when you find that right person, they usually just take it and run with it, and you don't really have to answer a whole lot of questions. So yeah, we have her do all of that. And if she ever has anything, she'll come to us with it. Trino or Megan, did you guys have any questions?
Yeah,
Yeah,
this is, oh, sorry, go
ahead,
ahead, Trino.
Okay, thanks. Hey, Amanda. I'm getting some candidates from Hazel, so she can train them. But well, my question is, in order to hire a virtual assistant, how do you guys train them with the videos? Do I have to download the videos and send a specific video that I need her to be trained with, or
So
just?
ask, you have Tyler's contact information, right? Or
Yeah.
even Hazel. So they have a spot with all of the videos that you should just be able to go there and then access all of the videos, or direct your virtual assistant to go there. And that way you don't have to download each one as you need it. They should just all be in one place, and she could just go there. So ask Tyler for access to that, and he should be able to direct you to exactly where that would be, so that you can send your virtual assistant there and she can just go through all the videos at once. But if you're
Okay, so-
hiring if you're coming through us for the virtual assistant, get with Hazel, because Hazel is the one that can send the videos. So she can help you with that. You don't have to do that yourself.
Yeah, the one that I'm getting right now, she's training her.
Yeah, Hazel
So-
can definitely help then.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Megan, did you have a question too?
No, man, I think I'm good. Very informative. Thank you so very much.
Yeah, you're welcome. It's good to hear your voice. I'm not seeing you today, but
Oh, that's because I look like a hot mess. And so I'm like, yeah, I'm just
that's
like a hot
me
mess.
every day. So don't even worry about it.
There you go.
Well, when I look at my screen,
A hot mess today.
when I share my screen, I like to turn the video off because I'm like focusing on the screen and I don't want to look like weird as I'm going through it. But
Totally understand.
yep.
Oh,
Well,
you're doing all right.
all right. Did you guys?
I'll be honest. It's a cold, drizzly morning here in Indianapolis, and I'm like, I might still be in my pajamas.
It feels great here in Arizona, but having the babies and stuff, my hair and all that, just it's low on their priority list. So, but that's okay.
All good.
All right. Did you guys have anything else before we get going on this? No.
I'm good.
Yeah, I can't think of any. Thank you so much. Yeah, that's
Yeah. Well, thanks for showing up. I know it's early on a Friday morning, but I appreciate it. So have some people to talk to while I go through this. Definitely helps. But yeah, so I guess if you guys are done, just let us know if you have any questions. Even if you get off here and think of something, let us know. But other than that, I guess you guys have a good weekend.
all right. You too.
Just
All right. Bye.